3 years, 10 months, and 15 days. That's how long this administration has to ensure that we become the fairest big city in America. And we will take on that mission, and we will do it with speed, and we'll do it with urgency. And we do this to ensure a better life for all 8.5 million of us. We do this to preserve the social fabric of the most diverse place on earth.
Welcome to Metro Focus. I'm Jack Ford. Mayor Bill de Blasio delivered the first State of the City address of his second and final term at the King's Theater in Brooklyn last night. At the heart of his speech, the notion of improved democracy, pledging to introduce policies which would ensure that New York City becomes the, quote, fairest big city in America. The mayor called for expanding public financing of elections and touted an initiative to register 1.5 million new voters, encouraging greater participation in democracy. While focusing on that issue of democracy, one that resonates nationally, the mayor barely made mention of the city's decaying subway system, the problems facing our homeless population, and the continuing public housing crisis. Dozens of protesters gathered outside the venue last night, taking aim at the city's embattled housing authority. Well, I'm very pleased to welcome City and State reporter Jeff Colton to the program to help break down the key themes from the mayor's address. So, Jeff, welcome. We have a lot to unpack here. Let's start with that bigger picture, as I mentioned. The mayor declaring that it's his intention to make New York City the fairest big city in America. Indeed, he used some version of the word fair almost 40 times during this delivery here. What do you think, having covered him, he means by this notion of turning New York into the fairest city in America?
Well, we all remember the Tale of Two Cities. That was his big framing for his first term, his run for election in 2013. Now that he's been mayor for 4 years, he doesn't obviously want to say that it's a Tale of Two Cities anymore. You know, he wants to show improvement. But de Blasio, his political framework is inequality. So for him, the fairest big city in America, that's a way to frame his speech around fixing inequality. Basically, fairness as the response, as the fix to inequality.
Let's talk about some of the details now and what the mayor had to say. One of the things he focused on was the notion of campaign finance reform. And some folks might find a little irony there in the sense that the mayor's campaign was the subject of some inquiries recently. So what did he say about changes?
Yeah, well, this was really big. I mean, the only new parts of his speech was this Democracy NYC initiative, a 10-point plan to fix democracy in New York City, basically to improve voter access, to get more people running for offices, to get more people voting, and to even get more people learning about civics and just caring about the city.
So, and that part is not terribly controversial. It's a great idea to get people to know more about civics and how a democracy functions and their role in a democracy.
Exactly. I mean, that was an easy, who disagrees, especially in politics, with getting more people voting? That's generally an acceptable thing. The one interesting part, yes, was that he talked about campaign finance. And de Blasio, he has been dogged by allegations of pay-to-play and having, lobbyists having maybe too much influence in City Hall. So this is his big response. He's introducing a new lobbying website that will actually record every single meeting that him, one of his commissioners, anybody reporting directly to the mayor, every meeting they have with the lobbyist will be put online, easily searchable, he says. And we can find that out, he says, as a way to find out who has influence in City Hall.
We've talked about some of the things he did mention. Let's talk about some of the things that were not so much a focus of the conversation last night. We didn't hear a whole lot about the problems with the subway system. Didn't hear a whole lot about the problems with the increasing homeless population. What do you think?
Absolutely. Those are two of de Blasio's most controversial topics, basically. I mean, he mentioned the word homelessness once, and it was in the context of his Thrive NYC mental health plan. That was pretty interesting. I mean, if you're talking about a fair big city and inequality, you'd think he'd center a little bit more around homelessness. But obviously, it's a topic he wants to avoid. New York City currently has more homeless people than ever before, at least in recorded history. And the people sleeping on the streets, we believe that number is also increasing. So de Blasio did talk about affordable housing, which is his big response. He thinks if you increase the housing capacity in the city and build more affordable housing, that will fix homelessness. But he didn't actually mention homelessness. As for the subways, he's basically just pointing up to Albany. He's saying, look, that's their problem.
And that's been forever, everybody doing this.
Exactly. And I mean, the MTA is largely under the governor's control. It's not totally the mayor's control. But essentially, he said his plan to fix the subways was, hey, me, you, all of our allies here in New York City, we need to tell the state legislators in Albany to fix the subways. His big plan, de Blasio wants to pass a millionaire's tax to fund the subways and also to fund fair fares, which would give low-income New Yorkers half-price Metro cards.
Last question for you. The audience last night. Now, we mentioned this is the mayor's last term here, and there's been a suggestion that he's looking for a broader audience, a national audience. Who do you think he was addressing his comments to last night?
Well, I'm not totally sold that de Blasio wants to run for a president. A lot of people have talked about that, but I am convinced that he wants to have a larger national profile. This whole idea about democracy, I mean, we were talking, it's a largely acceptable thing. He talked about re-democratizing New York City. I mean, that's a big, sweeping topic there. The criticisms that I heard of the speech from a couple, from New York City Public Advocate Letitia James, from New York City Councilman Chaim Deutsch, both of them were like, hey, why didn't this speech focus a little more on the problems that real New Yorkers have with paying bills and with potholes in the street, just the small stuff. They were both bothered that the mayor was focused on these big, sweeping initiatives of democracy, of voting, which, a lot of New Yorkers could care less about.
Yeah, well, it's certainly given folks, including you and me, a lot to talk about. Jeff Colton, always a pleasure. And you help us to understand all this. We'll look forward to talking with you again real soon.
Thanks a lot, Jack.